Hello and good morning. I'm coming to you with a little bit of a different flavor today. Very few of you know that my email marketing campaign closed me down for violating their terms of acceptable content, which had to do with supplying information that was alternative healing resources that go against the CDC's recommendations. So they closed my account, and with that went all of my subscriber contacts. So if you were a subscriber to newsletters or any of the information that has been lost, which included all of my websites about Reiki, retreats, certifications, sound healings, ongoing events, all of that has been wiped out, and it's an opportunity for me to start fresh. But the main thing I want to make sure that I'm able to get out is that if you were signed up as a subscriber, that you will have to resubscribe to a new platform, and that information is down there in the description of this video. So if you want to resubscribe, newsletters, keep up to date on how things are progressing and what's new with me and my offerings, make sure that you click on that subscribe and share it with anyone else that you think might be interested. And I think that's it for our updates. Let's go ahead and jump on into this card reading. Having my cacao this morning in my perfectly appropriate cup. I was born on May 27th, so I carry the sun sign of a Gemini. So this is always a really active time for me. And I don't need to go into all my personal life, but last week was really intriguing. So I can feel a lot of momentum moving this week. A lot of expansion, a lot of openness. Gemini is very social, very like the social butterfly. They've never met a stranger, and when they do, it's, they're not strangers for very long. So it's a great time to socialize, to get out, to be connected with nature. And another thing I think I want to touch on about Geminis is that there is this perception of being dual-faced, of being two-sided, talking out of both sides of the mouth. And yes, you can absolutely see that. But another way to perceive it is that Geminis are able to see both sides of a coin. So it's really easy for them to step back and kind of judge a situation from both perspectives fairly. And I think that this is a time that offers us an invitation to look at that within ourselves. How can we position ourselves to see both sides of every situation? Whether that's like the internal structure and the psyche and the dialogues that we have with ourselves. How do we balance that out and also create a dialogue that is balancing any energies there that might be, let's say we have some like self-destructive voices. How do we create the voices that are going to neutralize that so that it doesn't overcome us? So it's also an air sign, which means it's very much about the mind. It's very mental and mentally stimulating, intellectual, really enjoys exploring these new ideas and concepts. So I think with that, let's go ahead and start our reading. Okay, I'm just seeing what wants to be pulled first. So for anybody who this is your first time or unfamiliar with the way I do the readings are to look at the collective energy. So what we are all experiencing, and then to start to whittle it down to how this might be experienced personally in your own life. So for our collective overall, things are changing up a lot for me. So I'm pulling from some different decks, and the first cards I'm pulling are very different. I'm pulling from the Untethered Soul deck. For the overall theme, And then let's call on our personal thing as well. And these just help to provide us with an idea. Oh my gosh, it's so comical. If you've been watching this, we have gotten this card for months. My lighting is like so bright, it's hard to see sometimes. We've gotten this card for months. This is so remarkable. Would you like to go beyond yourself? Would you like to feel no edges? So this is just this continued expansion that the collective is in. When we find the edges of ourselves, when we find the place where we just can't do it anymore, well, how do we start to exceed that? And every time we do that, we build resiliency. One of the things that I like to work with people, and that the practices of like pranayama, if you've ever studied Wim Hof or done any of his work, working with cold, working with resiliency. I mean, you can really think of this in a lot of different terms. So one of the things that we have to do is find where our limitation is. And then we don't push so hard that it causes damage, but we just start to build more strength behind that. So we push the edge away. And so that creates more space, that creates more resiliency. So with Wim Hof pranayama, one of the things that we work with is our nervous system. And when we work with the element of cold, think about how contracted you get. It contracts the nervous system, and that contracts all of the muscles in the body. Well, when we do this kind of resiliency training over time, you start to build up this strength inside of you where you're non-reactive or you're less reactive. So that's what I really get from this card, is how this way that we're building this non-reactiveness in us. So let's just keep going so that we can get a bigger picture. The other card that I pulled that's on the personal level is the more you sit in the self, the more you will begin to feel an energy that you have never experienced before. It comes up from behind rather than in front, where you experience your mind and emotions. So have any of you ever had these kinds of really mystical experiences before? I worked with someone this week, and they had this amazing experience where they experienced the void, the place where you just surrender and rest. And you know, it's very much like the womb. For this person, it was the surrender into darkness, the surrender into nothingness, no stimulants. The mind didn't have to do anything. It's like the the thought of death. The thought of death is the total surrender of everything. There's no more will to achieve or to be active, but to just allow. So this is what I'm feeling from this on the personal level, is if you have been experiencing that, and even if you haven't, continue to work towards that. Continue to do the things that either led you there in the first place, or explore the ways that maybe are showing up along your path. Maybe there are some classes or teachers or educational material or practices that have just shown up along the way over the last several weeks, maybe a couple months, and see if you can continue to deepen that, build that resiliency. So if you do a meditation for 7 minutes, maybe you start doing your meditation for 8 minutes. Maybe if you were doing a pranayama exercise for a certain amount of time, maybe you do it for an extended period of time. Or maybe you deepen your awareness. Maybe you create a space that is more isolated and private and sacred. How can you continue to build and create an environment that will support that transformation and that touching of your infinite self, that timeless, eternal part of you? So Let me pull one of these Earth Warrior cards. And then I think I'm also going to pull this other card deck. This is really my husband's deck, but he doesn't mind. So I'm getting called to pull 2 cards here. Oh, yes. This is turning out to be a very beautiful spread. So the first card that I got was Palik Mana, medicine of the butterfly kachina. And mana in Hawaiian is like the gold. It's like the essence. It's the energy. Mana is life force. Isn't that pretty? Let's read a little bit about Palik Mana. On wings of hope, butterfly kachina guides you through an ending to the light of new life within. It is your transition into a happier time of increased pleasure and delight, especially if you have experienced great struggle or loss. The spirit medicine of butterfly brings hopeful promise to your heart. Here is your sign that there will be happiness, peace, light, trust in the goodness being birthed. Okay, so I'm going to start tying this all together. No edges, building resiliency, strengthening the self. How do we do that? We do that through creating the environment internally, externally, starting to allow that momentum to keep expanding us into these practices that take us deep into the heart, deep into timelessness, into the infinite, allowing us to touch that part of us that it's crucial that we remember. And then this card of Palik Mana is talking about happiness. Well, this was the card that I pulled along with this card from my husband's deck of the Journey of the Souls. So happiness and freedom. This is looking to be like a really promising time for humanity, for those that are on the path, on the timeline of ascension and healing. I don't mean to use too much New Age terms, but what can I say? If you know me, I'm a little bit mystic. I really don't like the term New Age, but cacao, so good. So the happiness card has dolphins, and it says, I am aware that being happy means that I am on the right path. So let's see a little bit more about this one. I am curious. Because I tell you what, while it may not feel like it right now, or maybe it does for you, and I hope that it does. I hope that the world is giving you some kind of sign, like synchronicities and miracles, things that made you believe that your dreams were actually manifesting, to keep the hope, to keep that flame of hope and faith alive. Don't lose that memory. Come back to that, because eclipse season's tough. If you're human, it's tough. So for the last couple of months, just what I've been witnessing and observing and reading in collective messages, it's big unearthings, big surrenders, big letting go, like these long-time karmic loops that we've been in, especially with other people in our relationships. And this, to me, even just feels, the energy present just feels much lighter than what it has felt like. So from this soul's journey about happiness, before incarnating, your soul created a blueprint for you to follow in this physical dimension. The easiest way to chart this path is to follow your bliss. Life is full of choices and opportunities. Spirit, in its infinite wisdom, has given you the emotion of happiness to guide you. The signposts are always there, but you have to acknowledge them and have the courage to follow them. Be mindful of how happiness will affect every aspect of your life on your path. Also intuit if there is someone else in your life who needs to be brought into the awareness of happiness. Okay, I'm going to use the book also for the freedom card. I really appreciate the designs here. And I wish I could turn my camera to actually show you these 3 cards. Maybe I can. It just, they look like they all really go together. So, freedom. I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness. I'm so tickled that I've heard happiness in all 3 of these cards. It feels so beautiful. And these are the synchronicities that I'm talking about. These are the little miracles that are happening all the time, and we just like really easily forget or discard them. So just now in this moment, just taking a breath and just feeling the presence of the message here about creating the happiness and the freedom to create that happiness, and then the freedom that's created from being happy. So it is this joyful cycle that we can give to other people. So this one, it opens in the same way about before incarnating, your soul creates a blueprint to help you through this physical dimension. And well, I'm looking at the same one on here. So freedom, not happiness, freedom. Okay. Your soul is open to receiving new wisdom and insights that allow it to make the right choices for its own growth. Remember, you are never a victim of other people or their circumstances. You have complete control over your own choices. So I just want to really emphasize that. It's really easy to project blame and to conjure up these ideas and scenarios when we sit with our wounds too long, when we really sit in that, I'm a victim of circumstance. If it weren't for this person doing that, or if it weren't for this happening in my life, I would have X, Y, and Z. I would be happy. I would be free. And the truth is, it's the total other way around. If you own that you are a powerful co-creative force, and that to some degree you called the situation, the person, the circumstance in, not because you're bad, not because you're wrong, but because there's some value there. There was some piece that was missing from your life, some lesson, understanding, realization that was called in through that for you to be able to unite some part of yourself that had been pulled apart, that had been distorted or set aside. So this is so important, especially after we've moved through this eclipse gateway. You have complete control over your own choices. By following your heart and being authentic to yourself, you present the real you to the world. Making decisions based on other people's expectations is not the true path to happiness. You are responsible for creating your own reality. When a soul shifts to a place of honoring itself in its totality, free from judgment, only then will it find its true freedom. Every soul is unique and follows its own path. Don't give in to peer pressure or the urge to fit in. You are the only one who truly knows the real you. So feel free to march to the beat of your own drummer. Yes. So over the past few weeks, I've one of the messages that kept showing up was like this authenticity about being real about what's present with you, being real about your thoughts and feelings and relationships, and being able to express that, and to trust that if that means that that person or that situation has to disconnect from your life, that it is moving you towards freedom. It is moving you towards sovereignty. And I'm hearing that again here in this card. Is like, now is really the time to just keep the momentum going. That we get tested, especially when we break off from these big karmic loops. Sometimes the people will come back around, the situation will come back around, and it's a test. Do you really now embody trusting the process? Or do you get looped back into the ideas of being a victim, the ideas of scarcity, of self-doubt? All right, let's go for the angel cards. Okay. All right. So we pulled sacral chakra. Sacral chakra is our relationships, our inner child, our intimacy, our authenticity, our creativity, money, our ability to honor one another. Wow, yeah, like I really can sense this. This card talks about these sensitivities, being sensitive when you're really connected with the sacral center. You have balanced sexual energy. You allow yourself to feel pleasure. You release you release the holding on to the feelings of guilt and even shame. And you're connected with your inner child, which is very sensitive. The inner child has a purity and an innocence to it. So the sensitivity for these cards, it is suggested, and I use these for action cards for how we can support this process. This is about really looking at what we're putting in our body, chemicals, additives, foods, the environment. What are you taking in? And is it really blunting your ability to be intuitive and connected and to feel the sensitive emotions of happiness and joy? Can you ask yourself if maybe you are consuming things that are clogging up your system in a way that maybe you're not able to really feel what's happening underneath the surface? You can kind of think of like when we absorb negative energies, whether it is from consuming certain things, substances, foods, or it's being in environments that are negative, it creates like this coat around our energy body. And therefore, there's not any transference through the heart field. It's more like the heart has to move through this mucky layer, and it filters out a lot of these very light, sensitive frequencies. So it makes it much harder for us to actualize happiness, among other feelings as well. Same thing, it doesn't allow us to detox the emotions that are contributing to the behaviors that make us want to take in these things. I think I want to read a little bit more on what else this is indicating, because it feels like there's another piece to this. So it says you are highly sensitive to chemicals, additives, processed foods, and energies right now. So here we just came through like this massive portal, we'll just call it the eclipse portal, but there were so many other things happening, cosmic weather, astrological occurrences that were working. So as you would expect, you're a little bit sensitive now after that, because it is a major purging process. So things that maybe would normally not affect you might actually be affecting you quite deeply. As highly sensitive individuals, well, let me just kind of scan through this and apply it to this situation. Yeah, if you're experiencing confusion or numbness, look at the ways that you're dealing with it. Look at the ways you're dealing with overwhelming physical sensations. Are you self-medicating? Um, yeah, it looks to just be a strong message to cultivate healthier ways, and that this is actually going to be leading you away from confrontation, from difficult situations. And I can tell you, look, I am so human. I've had a couple of days this week where, I mean, I was just like, I just checked out, and I ate things that I wouldn't normally eat, and I watched things I wouldn't normally watch, and I didn't judge myself for it. It's just the way that life was moving through me at that time. But I do recognize I had to do something to break the cycle, because it just gets you deeper and deeper in that resistance to life. It's really easy to start being in like you go into a victim role, whether you're conscious or unconscious of it. You have to know what to do to pull you out of that. And sometimes going and exercising, it just seems like it's too much. It's just too much. So, you know what I did? What was really great for me, and this is super easy: take a salt bath. Take a salt bath, use essential oils. These are really small ways of improving the quality of your awareness, of improving the quality of your energy body, so that you do feel that you can do just the next thing. Just the next thing. Go outside. Just lay down outside. Go get some sun. If you can, maybe take your pet on a walk. Take yourself on a walk. These little things can make a huge difference. Drink more water. These are all very small agents of change. Okay. Just feeling if we want to draw anything else. This feels pretty complete to me. I am going to come back and I'm going to read a little bit more about this Palikamana. So just to bring it all back together, keep cycling back around. Do we want to feel no edges? Of course we do. So that means that we have to expand the practices that put us in touch with our timelessness. This is a time where freedom and happiness are abundant and available. And this medicine of the butterfly, the social butterfly, Gemini, being able to allow yourself to feel that happiness. Notice where you might still be holding on to this victim mentality. Free yourself from that and focus on this benevolence. Focus on your co-creative nature. Start to take ownership and focus on those practices that take you in to touch the place that has never been hurt, that has never experienced any human pain, that is far beyond even the concept of being tainted or hurt or traumatized. This is good. An apparently lost cause or shattered dream was a necessary part of your transformational journey. What was sacrificed can be reborn into something even more beautiful. You are not meant to turn to the past, as it cannot support you in the way it once did. Trust that you have the inner resources to handle what is happening within you and in your life. You are moving towards a significant psychological, emotional, and perhaps also physical breakthrough and transformation. An inner sense of discomfort may be signaling that something new is unfolding within. It is natural to initially feel a little awkward or uncertain in the face of the unfamiliar. This is a good sign of change stirring from within. Allow nature to take its course. Trust in what is happening, even whilst you don't fully understand it. In the end, it will turn out beautifully and also happen to be a new beginning. There are moments when even those of us with great courage feel tested beyond our faith. Doubt, darkness, and despair can creep into our minds and lash our hearts with fear. There may seem to be a good reason for our pain: the loss of a loved one, a cherished hope dashed, disturbing human behavior, the state of the environment, or some other unexpected and painful shock. There may be no particular reason for it, and yet we are somehow gripped by a feeling of anxiety or despair that we cannot resolve no matter how hard we try. The healing of this oracle of the butterfly Kachina comes to you now to alleviate your suffering, to remind you that everything you have gone through has been part of what has made you strong, compassionate, and wise. When all seems lost, perhaps especially then, our soul needs the gift of seeing the light, love, and wisdom of the divine at work behind all things, at all times, always reaching out to us and offering love. The soul needs faith and hope, like the body needs air to breathe. Faith keeps the soul alive and well. You do not have to regret anything that has happened. You do not have to judge yourself or any other, or wish that things had been different. You have not missed out. You have not messed up. You have been learning and growing. What is required from you now is a willingness to let the past fall away, because the person you once were no longer exists. You may not fully realize it yet, but like a butterfly trying to crawl on the ground like a caterpillar, you may mourn the loss of your caterpillar ways. Yet if you take a moment to witness yourself anew, you'll realize you are not the person from 2 years or 10 years or a few months ago. You can then open to the gifts that the oracle of the butterfly Kachina is bringing to you now: well-being, new life, vibrancy, freedom, and happiness. What an inspiring reading. Freedom and happiness. Maybe at the beginning, at the end, or any point in your day, you take a moment to really acknowledge how free you are to create your own life. And then watch your thoughts, watch your emotions about that. Where can you create freedom from your victim mentality so that you can experience the fullness of your manifestation abilities? And knowing that all that has been left behind is not lost. It has been transformed. And that you can trust the path that's laid before you even when you can't see the next step. Be conscious of what you're consuming at this time. Notice why. What's the motivation behind your consumptions? I'll pull one extra card to send you home with. Let your heart listen to the call of your soul. It is longing for your attention. You will know your true purpose here on earth at this time of acceleration and evolution. There you have it. So, and yes, I am 2 days late on the new moon, but I've had a lot going on. So thank you for your grace. And I hope that you found this profound and helpful and producing clarity and direction. This felt really wonderful for me. So thank you for sharing this time, sharing this reading. And of course, if you didn't hear in the beginning, if you are signed up to my newsletter, you will have to re-sign up through a new system that I'm using. All the information is down in the description of this video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime that I upload new material. And for now, I wish you all so much grace and love and beauty and slowness to be able to experience your sensitive and loving nature. Loving you all so much and wishing you a pure and simple life. Pura vida.